Well, good morning from Europe. It's Wednesday, March 25, the 26th day of Iran war against Israel and United States. While the market escalation, the escalation that we had in the Middle East and in this war and lower tensions, market had a positive reaction after Islamic Republic based in Iran confirmed that they had they had some talks. They didn't confirm that it was a direct talks or not or whatever it was. They just said this the messages that we had. They mentioned like that. They didn't confirm that it was official talks. Anyhow, they confirmed something, but we know that in the news we never can trust Islamic Republic in Iran. They always changing the news and the titles based on how they want to sell it to the insiders. Anyhow, the confirmation came from Islamic Republic after Trump claims that the Iranian they are seeking for some sort of peace and they want to talk about the peace agreement. There are some talks about that if that happened, we may have a peace for a month, for 1 month. But during this time, US confirmed that they will be controlling the Iranian sky, and the Iranian sky will be under control of the US Army. They will watch directly and closely what will be happening there and how they are going to compliant and confirmed agreed if they had some agreements, how they're going to confirm and how they're going to do it. Anyhow, the situation is very unclear. We don't know exactly what's going on because Donald Trump is giving the information just like very step by step, slowly, while there is nothing and he says that I'm not going to come somehow guarantee everything that after a few days I come here and say that, oh, we had a agreement or not. Everything is dependent on the Iranian side. Let's see what they say, and whatever we say, whatever we can hear from them, they're ignoring any positive answer. They say that if we want to act on something, the US should take all its military bases in the Middle East and get out of the Middle East. This is something that we now never can happen, and that's why the chance for this situation is very low. The market also confirmed this that they cannot too much trust on what's going on here, even if they had some positive reaction, but still the market risk at almost 27. It's not something that we can say, okay, you know what, the market risk is not down. No, the market risk is very high after reaching towards like lower levels towards 22, 23. Again, the risk is high. The market doesn't count on that too much. We know that while the we know that while there are some political talks and some messages between these two countries, but still, US deploying more and more armies there, deploying more equipment, and all this situation keeps the escalations higher, keep the tensions higher, and that's why we say that we cannot trust on what is going on there. So that's the situation, and that's what is happening overall in the Middle East and Iran war. So after all, still with the slightly lower dollar index rate, which we know that the dollar index rate slightly is to 99, almost 99.40, and also the rates is slightly to 4.36 from previous days. That was about just like 4.4550. Now we have it in slightly lower levels at 4.36, but still it is so high. Just compare this 4.46 with just like month ago, which it was about 3.95. And you can see that the US 10 years bond yields in less than 30 days increased from 4.36 to 4.4, sorry, from 3.95 increased to the today's level. If you say, look, even if we can take it to 4.36. So 3.95, 4.36. That's huge movement. That's why you can see that the market risk premium is not low right now. Yeah, it's slightly stabilized compared with the last days, but still it is very high. In the VIX also in about 27 is very high. That's why you can see the last night the US markets, they didn't react to this news so positively. Dow Jones still is down by almost 0.2%, S&P 500 almost 0.4%, and Nasdaq lost last night by 0.8%. Even thought today's futures market had a positive reaction, and we can see Dow Jones and the Nasdaq increasing, and Dow Jones, Nasdaq, and S&P 500 all they're increasing almost 0.6%. Same positive movement actually we can see in the gold price. The gold price also increased almost 4% today. Silver increased more than 5%, almost 6% during in last 24 hours. We can see the silver price around $68, and now it's around 53 or $54, 73, $74. The gold price also 4,551. This is something that was much lower last days. Anyhow, this condition we can say is the temporary condition, and now this 4 or 5 days that at least we have. We have almost less than 4 days till end of this deadline that the US gave to the Iranian, and the deadline is ending with the weekend. The weekend is the where which Mr. Trump's best days to have the biggest attack when he want to do something bigger. Usually he does that at the weekend. So the deadline ends with the weekend. Let's say when the market closed, let's see what's going to happen there. I'm not so much positive about the ongoing talks, but the market somehow had a positive reaction. We can see that positive reaction in the Asian market as well. So far, Nikkei gained by almost 3%, Hang Seng 0.3%, Shanghai almost 1%, 0.9%. We can see same positive reaction in Singapore, in Indonesia. We can see same in the South Korea and Kospi. But anyhow, the market still has a very big doubt on the how that can go further and how that can happen. The cryptocurrency market also had a positive reaction to these changes. We can see the Bitcoin also again trading above $70,000, but still lower than the K $72,000. The K level of the $72,000 is very important for the Bitcoin, and as long as it's trading under the $72,000, we cannot count on boost. But still, the market had some positive reaction in the cryptocurrency market as well. Same in Ethereum, Ripple, Solana, and other cryptos as well. Looking at the economic data after yesterday update, the most important numbers that we had, it was the PMI numbers. PMI numbers across the Europe, Asia, United States, all countries. We had disappointing numbers, especially in the service sector. Even in some part that we had a slightly positive number in manufacturing or the composite, but still the service sector was very disappointing. And that was something that yesterday we talked about that, and the market also was expecting it. But still, while the market was expecting weaker number, the numbers which published yesterday, they were even weaker than expectation in the most parts. Yesterday, we had another important number that we can talk about. That it was U.S. fourth quarter of 2025 non-farm productivity, which increased almost 1.8%, while the unit labor cost increased by 4.4%. Compare that, labor cost increased while the productivity eased. That when you can see lower productivity and higher cost for hiring someone, it means that your underlying issues for inflation is still continuous. That's again another reason that can still tell us that the higher for longer can be much better idea for now the current situation. Today so far we had consumer confidence for the March in South Korea. Normally, we can see this low from 112 down to 107, while the inflation numbers that we had from Australia showed that inflation is eased from 3.4% to 3.3%. However, as mentioned yesterday, we cannot trust these inflation numbers. Why? Because Somehow we can say there's a delayed numbers which they're covering this period that the war didn't start yet, and the prices were not affected by that. That's why market can somehow ignore these numbers, somehow says that, okay, let's wait a little bit more. Even thought that the UK inflation that's which published exactly right now, stayed unchanged at 3% for February, well, with the 0.4% monthly growth, but still, that cannot change anything, and market can very clearly can very core CPI also increased by 0.6% monthly and annually 3.2%, slightly higher. I haven't thought the core CPI higher if we see that the energy price is higher the next month. What's going to happen there? Anyhow, the market still will somehow ignore these numbers as the energy prices is higher, and these higher energy prices can affect the data very, very soon in the next month's numbers. That's why the better, if it will be much better if we wait 1 week, 10 days till we will have the flash numbers or the primary numbers of the March inflation data. Anyhow, later today, the most important number will be from Europe. We don't have much important. I hope surveys will be out, but we don't have much more other data to watch. In the United States, we will have NBA 30 years mortgage rates, which is expected to increase slightly, and that can put the pressure on the mortgage market and lower the application numbers for the second week in a row, and we will see most probably higher rates and the lower application. While for the import and export price, the numbers will be for the February. We may see some changes, but again, market will not count on that too much, as import and export prices will be much more clear for the March after recent changes in transportation, after recent prices in the insurance prices. Let's see what's gonna happen there. Okay, so we have to wait a little bit more and see how that can change the market. Anyhow, after yesterday API weekly report, which showed that that the U.S. Inventories increased by 2,300,000 barrels, unlike market expectation of falling by 1,300,000 barrels. Today we will have the EIA weekly report as well. Again, the market expecting 1,300,000 barrels drop in the inventories, but I think that more probably we will have a higher inventories. Yes, it's not importing the energy, so oil. So most probably we'll have higher inventories in the U.S. Oil reports on the EIA weekly reports. That was what happened in today's the expectations and generally what's going on in the market. Generally, what we are expecting with these numbers from the market is that until next 1 2 days, if you want to conclude something that what's going on in the next 1 2 days, in the next maximum 2 days, that in Thursday and Friday, today Thursday and Friday before deadline ends, most probably market can be somehow positive. Oil price is slightly around this area or maybe even lower. Gold price is slightly higher, but the risk at the weekend will be very, very high. Please try not to have any open position for the weekend. From now, count on the positions that you can close at the weekend before week ends, before market close, because the risk during the weekend is so high. This deadline will be ended in the weekend, and we may have peace or we may have higher escalation. So that can increase the risk, and open position to have the open position for the weekend will be a very, very risky. That's what's happened in the last 24 hours and what's our expectation for next 24 hours. Hope it was useful for you. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye-bye.